Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 212 for the 23rd of September. Within this summary, there will be some information coming out from today on the 24th of September because it's already past 6 p.m. in Ukraine time, which is why there are some latest information that seeps into this summary so that at least we have some of the latest information in case you guys complain about me, being slow or late. So let's start off with the information about the referendum. So the referendum, the turnout, according to the information coming out from the different regions that is holding the referendum in the Russian occupied Ukraine, the turnout in the Kherson region is 15.31% of the total list of voters in the Kherson region. So 15.31 out of the first day. And then in the Luhansk People's Republic, the turnout is 21.97. At Zaporizhzhia region, the turnout is 20.52, and in Donetsk is 23.64%. By the look of it, Zaporizhzhia, Luhansk, and Donetsk is likely to be able to get probably as high as possible in term of the total turnout. In terms of Kherson at 50.31, looks like they still need to buck up a bit to reach the full as high as possible 80-90% turnout, I guess, to make this referendum as legitimate as they could. This information are coming out from different sources. So there is the referendum will go on until the 27th. Today is the 24th. So this information come out 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th. So we still got another 4 days to go. So another 4 days to go. The Kherson region is definitely slightly behind. Then there's statement coming out from the EU. A very surprising statement coming out from Josep Borrell. He told the BBC in the interview that the war has reached a dangerous moment. He said that it's a dangerous moment because Russian military has been pushed into a corner, and Putin's reaction, threatening to use nuclear arms, is very bad. And he said that because Putin said that it is not a bluff, you have to take them seriously. So Mr. Borrell is taking Putin's nuclear threat seriously, and this is kind of awkward. So, what do you really want? Do you want Ukraine to win militarily, or do you not want Ukraine to win militarily? This is actually a kind of a weird situation, and it could be also, self-incurred or done on purpose by the Russian side, because all this withdrawal from the Kharkiv region is creating this very awkward situation where Ukrainian military is winning so much that Putin can actually literally just use this as an excuse to do whatever he wants, which is inclusive of the partial mobilization that is announced just recently. So kind of a weird situation. So moving on to the Odesa Front. Odesa Front have not been reported for a very, very long time. It came out because the Russian has launched a drone strike against Odesa port region. So multiple drones were spotted across Odesa, and the Ukraine have been trying to shoot them down. So a lot of statement coming out because this came out of a surprise, and these drones is actually originating from Iran. So Russia have reportedly bought a lot of drones, and in fact even gotten the production rights to produce the drones in Russia, and reportedly they have a few factories with production line, and reportedly is able to produce 12 drones a day, which is kind of crazy given that the Ukrainians bought Bayraktar. They are only able to get a shipment every 2 weeks. Then that's only like 6 to 12 drones. For the Russians to be able to get like 12 drones a day would be madness, and that's from only just one factory, if I'm not wrong. So anyway, there is this kamikaze drone over Odessa, and because of the lack of appropriate surface-to-air missiles, the soldiers and some militias or whatever they try to use their rifles and machine guns to try to shoot it down. So chaotic shooting in the center of Odessa, so being reported, and all this chaotic shooting obviously cannot work because there is maximum range for rifles, and it's usually not very long. It's only like 300 400 meters, sorry, kilometers. 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer, that is a bit still too long. No, it's 300 400 meters from my memory. Anyway, there is indeed still a few drones got shot down. However, in the end, the drones still managed to hit their targets. So because multiple drones are launched, a few were shot down, but the rest still hit their targets. And there's one Garantu hitting the headquarters of the Navy. And from the Ukraine Defense Ministry, they reported that the drone strike killed 2 persons and injured 2 more. So this information, this drone attack on Odessa is kind of like gave the Ukrainian military a big shock, because they have no means of defending against this kind of mass drone attack. Something that the Ukrainians have been trying to use on the Russian side to limited success. Mainly drone strikes have been pretty successful using Bayraktar, but Bayraktar eventually the Russians find a countermeasure, and Bayraktar stopped to become as successful. So coming to the Mykolaiv Front, at the Mykolaiv Front, there's a Ukrainian Sukhoi 25 shot down over Vasily. Vasily is over here, just off the Kakhovka hydroelectric plant. Perhaps the Ukrainians are sending the Sukhoi 25 to attack the plant region or the bridge region, because the Ukrainians have been launching multiple launch rockets against this bridge, especially the HIMARS system, and somehow this bridge just refused to stop working for the Russian side. Maybe they tried to send the Air Force, which is why the planes flew that deep. However, it got shot down. Over at Pravdany, in today's latest information, there is a recon forces operating at Pravdany to probe the Russian lines. Otherwise, it's not really a very significant battle of being fought over at Pravdany. The main situation over at Mykolaiv Front is the preparation for an offensive, as the Ukrainian forces send out reinforcement from Mykolaiv to the front lines, and we have information like recon group with quadrocopters arriving at Myrny, and we have a unit of the 28th separate mechanized brigade over at Lyubomirivka, and there is also a concentration of armored vehicles 2.5 kilometers west of Ternovy Poli, which you can actually measure around here, 2.5 kilometers around there. So they are gathering around here. Perhaps it is a preparation for a major offensive over at the Mykolaiv Front. This is a very old information, 22nd. Okay, so this is out. And that's it from the Mykolaiv Front. Mainly, we are still anticipating a major attack by the Ukrainians in this region. Somehow, they are still trying to prepare this offensive, despite the major flare-up of hostilities in the Donbas region and in the Kharkiv region. So, moving on to the Davydiv Brid Front. At the Davydiv Brid Front, previously we have reported that the pontoon crossings and the bridges has been all destroyed. The whatever pontoon crossing there was swept away by the increased flow and water levels at the Inhulets River. So the Ukrainians has tried to establish new pontoon crossings to link up with the forces that is stranded on the other side of the river, on the eastern side of the river. However, this pontoon operation still got attacked while it's still under construction. So currently the pontoon situation, the crossing situation over at the Inhulets River remains to be not completed. It seems the Ukrainians are still trying to get a a connection between the west and the eastern side of the Inhulets River. Otherwise, the forces around here is largely stranded. Somehow there are reinforcements able to come in and out, but it's very limited. Heavy equipments are probably not going through, and any evacuations are done by helicopter. So there is a shelling reported at Suky Stavok, which is where the Ukrainians are holding a position over at the eastern side of the river. And because of the shelling, there is a partial withdrawal being reported of the forces that was holding up here at the Suky Stavok. Otherwise, at the Davydiv Front, the entire region, the entire battle situation here is kind of stuck for the Ukrainian side, as the lack of a crossing means they cannot proceed with any offensive operations. So moving on to the Kryvyi Rih Front, similarly, there is reinforcement being reported at Visokopilya, and there's another force another reinforcement being reported at Petrivka. Reinforcement reported at Petrivka. So yeah, this information is also the latest information just came out today, where the Ukrainians also are trying to regroup over here at the Kryvyi Rih Front, and to either to strengthen their defense line or to actually launch an offensive. Otherwise, in terms of the battlefront, there is a positional battle being fought at Posad-Porovsky, at Suky Stavok, and Arkhangelsk, as well as Ohaine. So positional fighting means that they don't really actually, it's not an offensive operation. They basically have skirmish and try to move, to better position, more better defensive position or better sniping positions. So it's a positional battle. It's not an active offensive where you're trying to overrun the enemy lines. So I listed in black because it's not exactly an offensive. It's not really blue or red, which is why it's something neutral. So it's black for now. So this is something new that I try to introduce and see whether it helps. Not all the way north, at the village of Sahivka, a Ukrainian MiG-29 was shot down by the Russian Air Force. So since a bit far from the front line, this also could be a suggestion of the weakness of Ukrainian surface-to-air missile systems. There's a massive lack of surface-to-air missiles in the Ukrainian defense. Many of their radar system has been taken out, so perhaps which is why they are unable to stop Russian Air Force flying so far deep into Ukrainian territory. Over at the Zaporizhzhia region, there is a Ukrainian Bayraktar TB2 shot down over the Dnipro River, or I think they call it the Kakhovka Reservoir, between Nikopol and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. So according to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that this Bayraktar TB2 was flying over the Kakhovka Reservoir from Nikopol on the way towards Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and then it got shot down. So this is just as I was saying earlier, that the Russians have been able to adapt their system to track Bayraktar TB2 and actually to engage and shoot them down, which actually massively degrades the effectiveness of Bayraktar TB2 in the Ukraine war. Otherwise, in the beginning, the first 1-2 months of the war, Bayraktar TB2 has been devastating against the Russian forces, as the Russian forces do not actually have an effective countermeasure against the Bayraktar TB2 at that time, because the radar cannot really actually track it or actually shoot it down. So since then, they have rectified this situation. Bayraktar TB2 is no longer a massive threat to the Russian force. Over at the Zaporizhzhia Line, in case you are new, Zaporizhzhia Line is actually Kayamsky, Orokhiv, Huyaipole, and the Velika Novosilka. This actually represents a line of defenses that is to protect the supply line from Zaporizhzhia over to the Eastern Front. So there is no active offensive being reported over the Zaporizhzhia Line. Except for this very weird information or story coming out from south of Huyaipo. So there is these two vehicles containing Ukrainian DRGs or perhaps commandos. So they broke through the defenses and actually drove into Polohi, and then they disappeared. So after that, they got caught, and apparently these infiltrators was dressed in the uniform of the Grozvadia, which is basically, I think, the National Guards. And according to the statement from the Zaporizhzhia region, this infiltrators has been eliminated, or at least that's what they say. So this is just one of those very weird stories that came out. Perhaps these people are meant to go and disrupt the elections, perhaps, or they might actually be doing intel job, trying to find out the situation over at the Russian lines. That's all from the Zaporizhzhia Line. Moving on to the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, the Russian forces continues to continue to push in the main focus of Avdiivka, otherwise there is a Ukrainian offensive being reported at Marinka. So according to the pro-Russian sources, they say that the Ukrainians launched a powerful attack, however did not really use any success, so suffered losses as they abandoned the assault. So there is fighting at Marinka. Otherwise, on the Russian side, their focus seems to be around the region of Avdiivka, where there is fighting reported at Opayne, Avdiivka itself, as well as at Kayamka. So this information is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Ukrainian Defense Ministry do not give out much details, which is why we do not know what is the exact situation on the ground, and we will have to wait for pro-Russian sources to give us more information. But the lack of information might actually suggest that the forces that is fighting in this region might actually be Russian servicemen, because any locations where the Russian doing offensive or fighting, and there is very little details in terms of the stories coming out, trying to illustrate what is exactly happening at that region, would suggest that those are actually Russian servicemen, because they actually follows operational secrecy. They have a operational discipline to not release information from the battlefront, and this is not the same for the Chechen forces or the Luhansk or Donetsk militias, where a lot of stories and information do come out from the front line. If the front line do not come out any information, it tends to be the Russian regular military. So this might be the reason why we are not hearing anything about the fighting at the Avdiivka region. So that's all from the Donetsk Front. Moving on to the Bakhmut Front, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continues to report fighting at Mayorsk, and fighting is reported at Kryvyi Rih, Zaiseve. For the Zaiseve, the information comes from the pro-Russian source saying that the Wagner group, the private military contractors from the Russian side, is trying to engage the fortifications near this highway over here. So it's unclear where is the lines but perhaps it's a bit closer to the highway, but we shall see where this goes when we have more information. If there is information reported from Ryba, the pro-Russian source, saying that some detachment of the private military contractor Wagner has reached the southern outskirts of Bakhmut. So southern outskirts of Bakhmut can mean many places. So I indicated in this place, which do make sense because they were previously fighting for Vesela Dolena. They captured this substation, and moving towards this direction do make some sense. There is a positional fighting reported at Bakhmut. No, it's not an active offensive, it's basically skirmish. So the the Russian forces fighting here is the Wagner private military contractors, and the objective continues to be to fight into the center of Bakhmut. So this does not change. Fighting is reported at Bakhmutske according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, and there is fighting reported at Soledar as well, largely positional. And that's all from the Bakhmut front. Over at the Siversk Front, there is an offensive by the Ukrainians against Berestove, the Russian position at Berestove. This attack is launched by the 10th Mountain Assault Brigade, and however, this assault did not succeed in capturing the settlement here at Berestove. Otherwise, and this information is actually from today, from I think is this from the Russian Defense Ministry, which is from yesterday, fighting yesterday. Otherwise, on the other location like Sperne, Verkhanokanyamske, as well as at Bilohorivka, the fighting here is basically positional fighting, which means it's just skirmishes in position. There is no active offensive along this entire front line. Moving on to the Lyman Front. At the Lyman Front, situation continued to be precarious for the Russian side as the Ukrainians continue to build on their successes and pressure, and in the final objective to capture Lyman city. Fighting is reported at Yampil. Previously, there was no fighting reported at Yampil the day before, so the Ukrainians continued restarted the offensive at Yampil to try to divert attention away from the other side, so continue to stretch the Russian lines as much as they can. Fighting is reported at Lyman, probably in all 4 points in this semi-encirclement of Lyman. In today's information, there was a Russian shelling report at Shorove, where the Ukrainians was gathering up an attack force, and this attack force seems to be discovered, and then they got shelled by the Russian artillery. So reportedly suffered significant loss in manpower and equipment. So this actually kind of gave the defenders at Lyman some break as this attack is stopped short before even started. Heavy fighting continues to be reported at Drobysheve yesterday, and the fighting continues on today. This is in the latest information today. The fighting continues to be at Drobysheve, and the Bars 13 is a volunteer force, I think, continues to hold the line here at Drobysheve. At Novoselivka, there was a breakthrough from the Ukrainian side, and as they managed to capture half of the settlement. The fighting continues until today. So after the success of capturing half of the settlement, the Russian lines managed to hold, and the Ukrainians are carrying out artillery strikes and missile strikes to eject the Russian defenders over at this position. There is a breakthrough through the forest region by the Ukrainians through the forest north of Yarova. So the Ukrainian forces took the opportunity as the Russian forces is being pinned down at Novoselivka. They broke through the forested area here, and further up north they managed to capture Oleksandrivka as well as Krymki. So this means that the entire forested area of this Sviatohorsk region, or the Svyatihori National Park forest, entire forest region is just all captured by the Ukrainian forces. There is some confirmation of the progress as the Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reports Yakskivka is captured by the Ukrainian forces. This actually kinds of corroborates what we already know, because we already declared Rupsi and Lozove as under Ukrainian control. Fighting is reported at Kryvyi Rih. So previously we mentioned that Ukrainian recon forces has been spotted at Kryvyi Rih, and I said that with these recon forces not seeing a lot of Russian forces or defense in this area, the Ukrainian forces is likely to push south. And this became true as the fighting is now reported in the areas around Kryvyi Rih. That is on the 23rd. On the 24th, the fighting is already at between Kryvyi Rih and Kapivka. So today, this current moment, the fighting is between these two locations as the Ukrainians continue to try to push south from this beachhead or bridgehead over at the Lozove-Rupsi region. The Ukrainians also did not abandon the objective to capture Kapivka and Rukhodok, as they were reportedly fighting between Lozove and Kapivka, and this fighting continues on to today. So there is some people commented in the previous update, the quick update on this Lyman offensive. They say that some other YouTubers say that this offensive is already finished because of the way how Ryba reported it. They say suffered losses and withdrew. However, today again they were fighting. So this is not fighting and withdrew. This is still fighting. That means the fighting carries on from 23rd, carries on to 24th. Is a carrying on fighting. So this is a constant fighting, and this is not a abundant assault. It's not like the Kherson offensive where active offensive is totally ended. So this is why I disagree with such an analysis that's saying that the offensive has failed, the Russian forces is awesome, hoorah. No, it's not this kind of thing. I don't think you should think in this way. Until the offensive is totally stopped, then we will say stop for like 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Then maybe you can decide that the offensive is over. Just like the Kherson offensive is now by this point of time over. The great super duper uber Kherson offensive is basically ended. And that's all from the Lyman Front. Over at the Oskil Front, the Ukrainians continue to search. So there is, after the reports of pontoon crossings, pontoon operations being reported in the day before, and I say that the Ukrainians are going to search into Kupiansk, and this is exactly what had happened. There is fighting reported in Kupiansk. And then today's information, the Ukrainians are still fighting in Kupiansk, and they are managed to send a battalion of reinforcement to this front line. So this continues to corroborate with the way how I have analyzed based on the available information, that indeed the Ukrainians are surging into this area. And I would suggest that when you see this kind of information where Ukrainians armed forces of Ukraine suffer significant losses, don't take this thing too seriously. They will of course write it in this way because they are a pro-Russian source. They are Ryba. So otherwise, the Ukrainians are continuing to search into the east of Kupiansk, the eastern side of Kupiansk, and the Russians are continuing to try to hold the line on the eastern outskirts of this city. And while this is happening, the Ukrainians, with their superior numerical numbers, try to open the new front and try to flank the Russian lines as pontoon operations is reported north of Kupiansk. On the northern outskirts of Kupiansk, the 92nd Brigade separate units with the fire support trying to gain a foothold on the northern and northwest outskirts of Kupiansk by using a pontoon bridge. So they actually established a pontoon bridge over here, and they are trying to move into the north, and northwest basically is still here. So they are trying to take the northern side of Kupiansk, and then with this they are able to flank to the rear and are able to cut off any reinforcement. So this is still ongoing, which means that the fact that they need to try to gain a foothold means that there is Russian units defending in the northern part of the East Kupiansk against this incursion. So Kupiansk situation, it continues to be very critical for the Russian side because the Ukrainians seems to have a major numerical advantage over the Russian forces. And further up north, I previously mentioned there is the breakthrough. There's a bridgehead over at Davydiv, and there's also an attempted crossing over at Davydiv. And this has turned out to be true, as Ryba reports that the Ukrainian forces have captured Kryankivka, Kryankivka, as well as Horobivka. So the Ukrainians have established a major bridgehead over here, and more reinforcement has been reported crossing the Oskil River, as the 14th and 92nd separate mechanized brigade of the Ukrainian forces is crossing the river, and to establish a major foundation to spread out into the entire region. However, there seems to be Russian defenders over at Zaporizhzhia, because the Ukrainian forces is reported at the outskirts of Zaporizhzhia. And according to Ryba, the pro-Russian sources, they saying that the engineering groups are equipping firing positions before they attack the railway station over here, so that they can capture this settlement of Zaporizhzhia, and then they can progress over at Davydiv. And that's the objective, the short-term objective of the Ukrainian forces over here at Zaporizhzhia. And that's all from the Oskil Front. This is looking like a disaster waiting to happen over here at the Zaporizhzhia area. And let's see how this will develop. And that's all from the summary of the day of 212 for the 23rd of September. And I hope that if you are not subscribed, do subscribe, and please press the like button. If you find this useful, do share it to your friends and contacts who are interested in the war and the progress. And if they find that the media they're reading makes no sense, too biased, they can point them to this channel. And coverage here is we'll continue to report from both sides. As you can see that we have pro-Russian sources, pro-Ukrainian sources, Russian Ministry of Defense sources, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry report as well. So this is the summary of 212, 23rd of Sep, and I'll see you in the next update.